Welcome back to Let's Talk Tuesday. This is the podcast where we have real conversations about learning, leadership, and what it truly takes to help people and organizations grow. Each week, we bring together different perspectives, experiences, and voices to explore what learning development really means, why it matters, and how we can do it better. Today, we have a very special guest, Scott Doggett from Orlando, Florida, who has over 30 years of experience in operations, learning and development, and leadership development. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm excited you're here too. Let's talk. So, tell us a little bit about your background and what your focus is today.
Right. So my background for 30 years, most of that time was spent in the hospitality industry. So my operations background, I was a general manager of several hotels and resorts. And that was actually what really got me into training originally. I was blessed to be able to be part of a task force when I was a GM of a resort up in Massachusetts, where we got to go and open up new resorts. So we got to go to
Ooh.
Atlantic City and Vegas and Waikiki, and we got to be part of this team that trained the new employees at these new resorts. And that's really where I caught the bug. And I
Yeah.
realized I didn't really want to keep progressing in the operations side of the business. I really wanted to get into training and development. So in 2008, officially, the organization that I was with had an opportunity for me to come here to Orlando and join the corporate training team. And I did that, and I've been in that space ever since. So, uh, absolutely love learning and development. Actually, even founded National Learning and Development Month about 10 years
Ooh.
ago. So, for
Mm-hmm.
those that don't know, October every year, we celebrate National Learning and Development Month. I'm super passionate about it. And now I have my own academy. I run the National Academy of Leadership Development, and we are focused on servant leadership and helping leaders to see people based on their worth and to create these cultures that put people first so that organizations can thrive, especially coming out of the kind of the COVID wake and all the damage that was done through COVID, and then kind of preparing for the AI era. And there's so much stress right now. And so I really believe that servant leadership is the key to creating an environment where employees can truly feel seen and valued and comfortable, and they can breathe and again thrive in their workplace.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're in the right place because we are all about people first solutions here, and I
Yay.
love servant leadership. Also, because for me, it's all about helping people be better tomorrow, and what can I do as a leader to help them get to where they want to go, and maybe even a little further than they had originally thought that they were capable of.
Sure.
Tell us, in our world, right? It's so different across industry, even within learning development. What does learning development mean to you in your world?
In my world, it really is everything. So, okay, I founded National Learning and Development Month because, well, first of all, I thought there was one, or I thought there was at least a day, and I was trying to do some research to like do some events for my company, and then I realized there wasn't one, and I was horrified because there was National Talk Like a Pirate Day, but there was no National Learning and Development Day, and so I petitioned and was able to get an entire month dedicated to
Ooh.
us. And
Mm-hmm.
because I truly believe that when you stop learning, you stop growing. And we all can continue to learn and grow, whether it's as a leader or in our current role or just as human beings, right? There's always something that we can do to better ourselves. And so learning and development is a vehicle for people to be able to, again, work on themselves, whether it's helping them do better in their current job or prepare for a future job, or again, just become more efficient as a human being.
Yeah, it's so true. And you kind of seeped into the next question I love to ask people is why is it so important, especially in today's world, which you kind of already answered, really. But I love that if you stop learning, you stop growing. That's the
Yeah.
end. And there it
And
really is no
again,
end until the day you die. So
and I'll tell you today more than ever, I think it's so important, again, because of AI, and it's such a hot topic, right? And people are worried about their worth as an employee and the work and right. They take pride in their work. And now these robots could potentially take over their jobs. And so there is stress and there's resistance. And you see companies that are shrinking. And so where's training fit into this? Training needs to be able to come in and upskill and position it as, hey, listen, y'all, we're gonna learn this together, and we're gonna treat this as an investment in our people and upskill so that we can, create again this a comfortable environment where people aren't afraid. Because the other alternative is we have this fear-based approach where we say, hey, y'all got to learn this or else, right? You're going to become obsolete. Your job's going to be at risk. And that's what I keep hearing a lot of out there is that messaging. And that's what, again, I think is attributing to a lot of the stress that is taking place in our workplaces.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm trying to counteract constantly is both from the individual contributors, but also from the leader level that AI is not a replacement for humans. It's a replacement for some redundant tasks. It's a tool like anything else. So you can either leverage it to enhance yourself, or you can not leverage it or be afraid of you and then have to be slower. But ultimately, if you think of if you're on the mindset of how do I add the most value and how can I take things off of my plate, in the past as a leader, it would be delegating to other humans. But maybe there's some opportunity there to iterate some processes and make it automatic, fine. But ultimately, it's when you bring in that people first lens of like, how can we help this person be the best they can be? How are they leveraging it to make themselves better? And you get more from it. So it's from both perspectives, right? It's the
Yeah.
individual of how they can leverage it to enhance themselves instead of replace themselves. And from a leader level, it's reminding leaders that just because AI exists does not mean that you need to get rid of all your people, because if you do that, who's going to do the work? So
You said, yeah, you
it's
said that
strategy. You
beautifully.
have to be you have to be focused on that strategy avenue there.
For sure. We have a workshop that we offer, a full day workshop for leaders. And one of the things that we address it there is this AI topic. And we approach it just like you said, like it's not meant to replace humans. It is meant to help us
Yeah,
with
enhance.
some of that busy work. And what I love about it and the way we position it is it's going to give you time back to be able to go out and spend more time with your people doing those things that for years and years and years I've heard excuses as to why leaders couldn't do more mentoring or team building or these things that had so much value, but because there was so much work being done behind closed doors of offices, it just never got done. But now with AI, if we can use those tools to get, the presentations done or the financial analysis and the reporting and all the things that take hours upon hours of our time, if we can use the tools for those types of tasks, then I can get out of the office and I can go out and reconnect. And so it really does help us rehumanize the workplace if we use the tools the right way. We even have an AI coaching tool that we've developed for our program, and we show how to use it in that again, not to replace human coaches or human mentors, because the AI coaching tool, yes, it can coach you on servant leadership principles and practices, and it can really be super helpful, but it's never going to know the people at your organization. It's not going to know history and context, and it's not going to know how to work the politics of your organization. And so you need those humans to 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 help with that as well, right? So we kind of help leaders look at AI from a different perspective.
Yeah, I love the word that you use, rehumanize. I really like that idea and the principle. And again, it's getting back to what really matters and how are you adding value and the impact that you have. So if you look at it as a replacement, then there's the fear. But if you look at it as of how can I leverage this to actually use my time and space on the most important asset, which is our people, right? Is how do we build up our people? How do we help them be more successful?
Yeah, I say the only bad thing that should come out of this is it should put that show Undercover Boss out of business, right? Because that show drives
Because
me
people should
crazy
know their
because
bosses.
you should know what's going on in your business, right? But this
Right.
should allow CEOs to be able to get out of their offices and go out and connect with the people
Yeah,
out on the floor
absolutely.
more.
Yeah. What do you wish companies knew or did differently when it comes to learning and development?
I think my biggest wish, again, it goes back to the principle of the kind of the core message that my organization is all about is how you see people is the way that you treat people. And so you can apply that though to anything in life. And so when I think about learning and development, how you look at it is going to be how you treat it. And so I
Hmm.
really wish that organizations would look at learning and development as a key business strategy And I've
Hmm.
worked for organizations and specifically for CEOs, because I think so much of this really starts at the very top. But
Yes.
I've worked for CEOs that have that have treated and have looked at learning and development as a key business strategy. And I've worked for other CEOs who see it as a nice to have,
Right.
but
Or
more
expense.
so as a HR thing. And
Yeah.
it's not, and it's because the way, again, you see it is the way you're going to treat it.
Right.
And so when you have something like COVID, for example, happen, I noticed organizations treating learning and development very, very differently when COVID hit, right? The ones that saw learning as a key business strategy held on to their training teams and said, we need this service, we need these resources to help us get through this, right?
Hmm.
Because we need to develop new tools, we've got to go virtual, we've got to create safety training. And because we've shrunk the workforce, we need to upskill people because they're taking on new responsibilities, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The other thing I saw though were those organizations that looked at it as a nice to have, and they were the first departments to get cut, right?
Yep.
And so that would be my wish, is because I do believe that it is a critical function for organizations. It should be a key business partner for organizations, and so that would be my wish.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest assets, and we said it earlier, that a company has is its people. Without people, there is no company. And so it's so critical. And, we've talked about this with a few guests in the past, is it really is an investment and it really should be the strategic business partner at the table that aligns with what are the business goals, that aligns with what's going on with the team and the department and how do we work together. You're a subject matter expert in this. I'm an expert in the people. How do we come together to, marry those two things to set everyone up for success and actually achieve the company's goals?
Exactly. And the thing that I talk to executives about all the time is, listen, you don't have to, if you don't believe in this, if you don't believe in our message, that's fine. I can't force you to believe that, but just know that there is no way that you can force employees to give their discretionary effort to you, to give their creativity, their energy, for them to say, oh, I see that this is a risk on this project plan that could derail this project. Those things only happen when you've earned that through creating this type of culture where you respect and you treat people well and listen to their ideas and provide them with the training and the development and growth opportunities. And so again, you've got to earn it. You can't force it. You can get people to comply, and but you will never get those sustainable, healthy results that I believe most organizations are striving to achieve.
It's so true. It's so much better to inspire and infuse people with that autonomy, with the energy to want to make things better and to take that ownership on themselves and really have that mentality of how can I be better for myself, for my team, for my company. And like you said, it starts at the top and the tone that's set and gets pulled through the culture.
Mm-hmm. It really does.
Well, this has been great. We've covered a lot of things. I always like to leave the audience with one actionable tip or takeaway that they can leverage today. So, what do you have for us?
Just one? Okay. So if I were to just provide one tip, I would say really challenge yourself when you're looking at people, to look at them based on their intrinsic worth as a human being. This is one thing that we teach, and that is really I'm very, very passionate about. So, Amanda, when I look at you, what I tell myself is that you are a priceless human being, right? I can't put a price tag on your life. And so, because again, the way that you see someone is the way that you're going to treat them. And so, when we work with leaders, I think what we tend to do is we put labels on people when we see them. And so, I may look at you and say, "Oh, well, you are, two levels below me," or "Oh, you're a low performer," or "Oh, you are a chatty Cathy," or whatever label I give you is how I treat you. And so, and that's any aspect of our life. And so I would challenge people that if you can go out and look at people and tell yourself and remind yourself that the person in front of you is a priceless human being, the way you treat them changes. And what you do and the way you treat someone who you see as priceless, right, is just with respect and with dignity. And you just listen a little deeper, and you find yourself wanting to help that person, And what you do is that helps that person and their self-image and how they're feeling about themselves in that moment. And that all can really help influence job performance and really it really flows into households and community. And so I really that would be my tip, I guess, for your audience.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? I think this person acts this way, so I'm going to treat them that way. And so then I'm going to get more of that behavior. So
Yeah.
instead, treat them the way you want them to be, and then you'll be amazed at how people rise to the occasion. The other thing that I always like to remind people about is assume positive intent. It's very important. People always judge themselves based off their intention, but other people based off their actions. So, for example, when someone comes in late to a meeting or something, if that person comes in late, you're thinking, oh, that person doesn't respect my time, that person is lazy, that person is, whatever it is, right? Whereas if I come in late to a meeting, I had another meeting that ran over. I'm so sorry, And again, it's if you assume positive intent that people if you have that view, I love that your shift of like having the person be invaluable, but also realize that everybody is human and
Yeah.
realize that assume positive intent will do you more good than bad. 9 times out of 10, just giving them that grace and just assuming that they intended positive, it will change your whole perspective.
Yeah, to your point, we give ourselves a lot of grace, but we don't give it back to others. And so much of it is the story that we're telling ourselves about
Hmm.
that situation, that moment. And you can practice it, right? I practice it a lot when I'm in traffic or like someone cuts me off in traffic. I use that as an opportunity to really take control of my thoughts in that moment because our thoughts are what create our emotions, right? And then the
Hmm.
emotions drive our behavior, our reaction. And so in those moments, I'll stop and say, whoa, Scott, you know what? Have I cut people off in the past by accident? Yes. Maybe that person just found out their wife is going into labor and they're trying to get to the hospital. I don't know what's going on in their life. And just that little conversation that I have with myself helps calm me down so that I
Hmm.
don't do something that I'm going to regret with that road rage. And because again, we don't know what's going on in people's lives. And I love that, assume that positive intent because if nothing else, it just makes you feel better in that moment.
It protects your own calm as well.
Yeah.
Instead of people feeling like everyone's out to get them, it's like everybody has their own life. Assume positive intent. Assume that they didn't mean to wrong you in any way. And I think 9 times out of 10 people are going to rise to the occasion. So thank you so much. This has been such a fun conversation, Scott. Really
Oh,
appreciate having you.
I've had so much fun. Thank you so much for having me.
And with that, we'll begin to wrap up. So I hope this discussion gave our audience a few new perspectives, sparked some ideas, and left you with at least one takeaway you can put into action immediately. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and join us every Tuesday as we continue exploring learning, leadership, and what it takes to help people and organizations grow. And if today's conversation resonated with you, or if you'd like to join me for a future episode, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and let's talk again on Tuesday. Thanks, everyone.